Coming up next, a haunting glam metal hit from the 80s about teenage murder. Was it based on a true story? Was it ripped from the headlines? Or was it made up? It's from an up-and-coming band that gained notoriety for their incredible live performances. When they started to climb the ladder of fame, they opened up for one of the biggest bands on the planet. And on many nights, the opener overshadowed the headliner. The guitarist and the co-writer of this band shares the story of this cautionary murder power ballad. Coming up next on Professor of Rock. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. We interview the great artists of the rock and roll era. You never know what's in store, who's going to show up from day to day. Make sure you subscribe every day so you don't miss out on what's coming. Check us out on Patreon as well. So I'm excited to bring you another episode from our series Revelations. This is where featured artists go very deep on their greatest songs and greatest albums. And this one really is a revelation because the story that's been going around about Skid Row's famous 1989 metal song 18 in Life is actually inaccurate. On this installment of Revelations, Dave the Snake Sabo, the guitarist, co-founder, and co-writer of Skid Row, and this song, he sets the record straight on the real inspiration behind this crime ballad. When Skid Row's eponymous debut album came out in early 1989, I was transfixed. Everybody in my group of friends loved this. You know, with the anthem Youth Gone Wild, it seemed to speak directly to our generation, that one. The ultimate power ballad of I Remember You, played at all the school dances. The straight-ahead hard rock, A Piece of Me, and of course 18 in Life. I mean, when Skid Row hit the scene, they had the opportunity to open for Bon Jovi, who were out touring the album New Jersey. Well, Skid Row was so explosive as the opener, many felt that they were just as good, if not better, than the headliner. Up next, the real narrative behind the 1989 hit 18 in Life. It's a story of Ricky who shoots his friend with a gun that he didn't think was loaded. There's been a lot of speculation about who Ricky is. Most say it was based on a real news story that Dave Sabo and Rachel Bolan read about at the time. The true story? It's coming up next, straight from Dave, as well as the story of recording the song and its effect on the culture. As we go into this interview, I do want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear, my favorite frames ever. Make sure to take advantage of the phenomenal deals Zenni always runs to design your own pair of frames. The color, the shape, the size, the style, everything. All of it's available at Zenni.com. Go check it out at the link below. Here's Dave the Snake Sabo with the story. All right. Great to be here with you, man.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you taking the time to do it.
Oh, well, I'm a big Skid Row fan, man.
Oh, excellent.
I bought the album when I was a kid.
That's awesome.
When I was in 8th grade. Well, the second single, 18 in Life, such a powerful crime ballad, if you will, so to speak.
Right.
Number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100. Huge song. And number 11 on the Mainstream Rock Tracks chart. And it went to number 6 in Canada. But this is a song, I mean, at that moment, you're in the top of the charts with the biggest out there.
Yeah, we were oblivious to it, though. We were in the middle of touring. We could see the change in the sense that more people were getting in early to see us, as opposed to just coming in when Bon Jovi came on. And MTV, the video played a really, really big part in that. That was something that we had to fight for as well. Our record label wanted to go with I Remember You. And we felt that I Remember You would be that would be the exclamation point on the album. And where would we go from there if we released I Remember You? It didn't feel like we should have an endpoint already. So we really had a fight, like getting on the phone, us and our management with the record label and convincing them that this is the way to go unless you want the record to be over, within the next 4 months or however, hoping that I Remember You would be, somewhat of a quote unquote hit song. So we had a gut feeling about 18 in Life, and the guys who did our first video for Youth Gone Wild, Kurt Marvis and Wayne Isham, did a bunch of Bon Jovi videos, so they were kind of part of the family, if you will. They wrote a great treatment. They had done a great job on Youth Gone Wild, and everybody really stepped up the game for that video, and it touched a nerve when it was released. But we were, as much as we would see the change in the audiences every night, we didn't know what was kind of happening outside of that bubble. We were told, and we saw like it going up the charts and stuff, but we didn't really realize what sort of effect that was having on the public, because we were in, this tin can of a bus driving to every city that we could possibly go to. And you don't get a chance to go out in public or anything like that. You're traveling in a bus, you're playing a show, traveling, and it repeats every day, which is amazing. And I still love it to this day. But you're kind of shielded from what sort of impact you may or may not be having.
Well, it was a certified gold single for Skid Row. The realism behind the story of the song, very powerful. You were inspired by a disturbing newspaper article that you read. Tell me about that.
It originally started out being a song about my brother Rick, who was in the Vietnam War, and he came home, but he came home a different person, just mentally, and as I'm sure everyone did who came home from that debacle, he was the brother that basically raised me. My dad wasn't around; he had gone when I was 2. And I would see him a couple times a year, but it didn't have the same impact as having a father figure there every day. So my brother Rick was that father figure. And when he went to Vietnam, I want to say 7 years old, came back when I was 9. And you could tell life was just different. And it was not, as a 9-year-old kid couldn't put his finger on what it was. It just was different. And it was heartbreaking. And so cut to, we're writing songs for the record, and I told Rachel that I have this idea for this story about my brother, and we just could not get it right. So we decided to change the storyline to create sort of this fictional storyline based around, some factual stories of just the loss of a friend to inadvertent, gunshot. And what role, alcohol may have played in that. We didn't want it to be a statement per se. It was it was a story. And again, you don't know who it's going to touch and to what degree, if it in fact does. And, to this day, seeing people sing the lyrics to that song, and still hearing people say it had such a profound effect on me, because I lost somebody like that to an errant gunshot, or something similar to that story. It's tragic, and hopefully, by people being able to relate to that song, maybe it gave them some comfort in knowing that they're not alone.
This song had a huge impact on me, because at that moment there was a kid who actually shot his dad in Idaho. In a small town in Idaho, you don't see that kind of stuff very often.
Right.
This little small town is pretty safe. And so when this song came out, it almost told a similar story. And so it was also a precursor to grunge. This is what a lot of the grunge songs sounded like years later.
Chloe don't know better, and the boy was something that mommy wouldn't wait. 18 and a lot to go. 18 and a life you got it.
It would start out with a theme that was, you know what I mean, because metal was, a lot of stuff was party rock.
What comes around goes around. I'll tell you why.
But this was a very serious song that told a story.
That was one of the things that we always enjoyed doing, was creating stories. Rachel's a better lyricist than me. So we were bouncing ideas off of one another, and then he would somehow take the pieces of these puzzles and start putting them together. We both collaborated on it, but he would be the one to come up with one of those lyrics that you just went, wow, like that's stop dead in your tracks. Powerful. But you don't know. I can't reiterate that enough. You don't know. You're writing a song in the bedroom of someone's parents' house, and at that time it was Rachel's parents' house. We're writing it in a bedroom upstairs, and you finish it and you play it for people like John and Richie and these people who had that we respected their opinion. They were so revered to us because of their honesty, because of their success. Like, they had a pretty good idea of what a good song was. and they would hear that and they went, this is good. This is better than good, in their opinion. This is where your music needs to be. And so cut to 1989 in the spring, summer of 89. And all of a sudden, it's getting more and more plays on MTV, and you're seeing more and more people show up at the shows and sing the lyrics to the song, and your head is kind of spinning because there's two lives going on right now. There's the life of being inside the bubble, and then there's the life of what's happening outside the bubble. So it's not that it's confusing, but you're just unaware of what sort of impact you're having on people.
Well, in the music video, I mean, MTV at one point refused to play because they were afraid of the message. And
right.
It's so weird how things were and how far things have come in 30, 35 years.
Yeah, we had to edit out a bunch of stuff in that. And that was disheartening because, you have five guys and the management and stuff. We have a vision for what we want this to look like, and as do the directors and the producers. And then when you're limited in that vision, it's very disheartening. But yet that you want to use that vehicle to increase your visibility. You want to be able to reach as many people as possible. So we compromised, which is oftentimes what you have to do. But luckily, we didn't compromise too much where it took away the power of what that song was meant to be.
You say, talking about the lyrics, I mean, just when you hear that first line after that really haunting guitar line, Ricky was a young boy, he had a heart of stone.
Ricky was a young boy, he had a heart of stone.
First lines are very important in songs.
It was interesting because when it first was about my brother, it was Ricky was a young boy, he had a heart of gold. And so we changed it when we changed the storyline. Telling
the story and bringing us in as listeners, it just had such an impact. And I also love the verse, tequila in his heartbeat, his veins burn gasoline. It kept his motor running, but he never kept it clean.
It kept his motor running, but it never kept it clean.
Right.
Gosh, man.
Oh, thank you.
That's a killer.
Yeah, thank you very much. Again, you as a songwriter, you just want to paint as vivid a picture as you can. Obviously, utilizing metaphors as much as possible to create a vivid picture.
And you guys were one of the only bands in my mind at that moment that could just go like shift into high gear like that, like an 18 Life, and then all of a sudden you go, Dana, and you just shift right into high gear there, turn it all the way up to 11.
That's dynamics, and that was what we were taught just through our musical youth, by being exposed to all that great music. The funny thing is that Rachel had older brothers and sisters as well, and he went through the same sort of upbringing as me. getting turned on to all this music through his older siblings, and a lot of it the same music that I grew up on. That's where we found a lot of commonality in our upbringings.
It's got an amazing guitar solo as well.
That's Scotty Hill, man. There you go. It's Scotty Hill, and that's like, imagine what wouldn't have happened had he just been the rhythm guitar player in the band. That would have happened, you know.
Well, and Sebastian's vocal too. You guys were just on fire at that moment.
Yeah, we were very, very ambitious. We were like a freight train. When we went in to go make that record, we had no idea what was attainable. We just had hope, and we realistically, we just wanted the opportunity to make another record after that one. That was kind of a driving force. We had no idea if we would appeal to anybody. We knew that we appealed to people in our area, in New York and New Jersey. We just didn't know if that could
translate to
the rest of the world. But you know, touring with a band like Bon Jovi, you see that it is possible. You know, and again, seeing Twisted Sister become successful, you could see that that's possible.
We always tried to figure out who the real Ricky was. We'd scour that. Back then, you didn't have the internet, so you'd look at microfiche and try to find. I heard he read a news. I mean, that's kind of what's missing too from new music, is because we have the internet. Those urban legends that they had that we would pass around about music. Ozzy biting the head off of a bat and those kinds of things. And with this, we were like, who's the real Ricky? And let's find the story. We heard this in Metal Edge and the magazines we'd be reading and that kind of stuff, Circus. And
yeah, it was, like I said, it started out about my brother, but we couldn't actually just come to the right lyrical meanings to exemplify what that story was. But you know what? We're still here, so maybe we'll end up writing that story one day.
What is your process? Speaking of Scotty Hill, because the two of you have combined forces, so many great guitar parts. What's your process to create an original sounding guitar solo? Like, especially on like a power ballad, to really get people moving?
For me, like, Scotty plays most of the solos on the slower stuff because he just has this incredible knack for melody in his guitar playing. And he takes his time and works out the solo. Whereas with me, there is definitely stuff that I work out the solo for. Stuff like Youth Gone Wild was worked out. There's other stuff that's just me completely improvising. And Sky does the same thing too. We kind of do it both ways. The Sweet Little Sister is complete improvising. Again, a song like 18 in Life, he worked that solo out and really just played off the melodies of the song and the dynamic of the song. He told the story within the story. And that's what he's really great at. I mean, he's a great guitar player, underrated in my book. I'm probably, if not his biggest fan, one of his biggest fans.
That's awesome.
I just think that what he does in that setting is untouchable. I mean, there's not that solo for 18 in Life is so great that it's the perfect solo for that song. Oh, one thing I should add, because I forgot that you had, when we were talking about 18 in Life, you were talking about like a newspaper article that we read or something like that. That wasn't the case. It was like I said, we just wanted to create a story, it may have been influenced by different things that we had read or seen on TV and stuff like that. I'm sure to a certain degree that had something to do with it, but it wasn't a specific story that we had read, at least not to my recollection.
That's cool because we like to get the real story behind these facts, urban legends, because I
Right.
heard that since I was a kid,
Yeah.
that it was inspired by a newspaper article, and so we'd always kind of try to look for it, but that's interesting.
That's funny.
If people are looking for, if the guy's name's Ricky, let's look and let's see,
Right.
Right.
Wow.
Glad you shared that. So
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Adam. I appreciate it, man. This was a lot of fun.
we'll talk to you soon. Maybe someday we'll do this in person.
That would be great. That would be great. Be safe and healthy out there, all right?
And thanks so much for watching. Leave us a comment about Skid Row and this haunting song. What do you remember about this song and this album? To get more of this interview and many others, make sure that you click on the Patreon link below, where you'll get a lot of extra content. It helps us to keep it a daily channel. We'd love to have you as a subscriber. Subscribe below. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.